What's up guys, Syiler here, and we are back on the Warlords of Draenor beta, continuing our series where we take a look at various classes and specs, seeing how good they are, what's changed, where they are in terms of damage right now, and just to give you an overall idea of, if they've changed too much so you don't want to play it anymore, is it complete garbage, that kind of stuff. So I apologise for this one taking so long. The beta's been up and down consistently through the past week. There's been quite a few small patches that have taken the beta down for like 5-6 hours. Every time I've been around to record, they've just not been up. So, sorry about that one. And in this video we're going to be taking a look at Marksman Hunter. So as always, and this will be focused on PvE, I'm not much of a PvP player, so if you're here for the PvP side, you might get a rough idea, but this is mainly looking at the PvE side. So within Marksman Hunter, and the reason for that is one of the strongest single target specs for Hunter. So it's what you're going to be using on the single target fights for the majority of the fights, I assume. Could be wrong, but looking at the sims and things like that, that's how it's going to be right now. As always, we'll be doing these in the preset PvP gear. It's 660 item level, so it gives us a decent idea of how much damage you're going to be doing in the starter gear. No set bonuses or anything like that to skew with the results. The only sad bit is the stats aren't really focused on anything in particular, and we also have a PvP trinket which just gives pure stats. So keep that in mind as well, we don't have the trinket proc. And if you see me doing something wrong, keep that in mind as well, as I don't play all these classes. So if you see me doing something wrong, add that damage onto the total and you'll get more of an accurate idea of how much you'll be doing when you get to Warlords of Draenor. So we're going to start off by taking a look at what has changed for Hunter, or Marksman Hunter in this case. First up is Arcane Shot, that is gone. So no more Arcane Shot in your rotation, that is gone, Reno. And what happens is Thrill the Hunt now affects your aim shot instead. Serpent Sting is also now gone as well. And I'm going to tell you a little story. So the Serpent Sting change is across the board. It's been changed for BM, Marksman, and Survival. No longer is it there for BM and Marksman, and for Survival it's a passive. You don't get it until about level 64, I believe, and it makes leveling very, very, very slow for hunters. One of the main sort of benefits to being a hunter was the fact that you could literally run around, pop a Serpent Sting on mobs, run off to the next one, and if the Serpent Sting didn't kill it, your pet would. So it allowed you to kill things very fast and mobile. That's not the case anymore. The damage while leveling is reduced a lot. At least when I was last playing it, I did a 1 to 100 on the beta, and it was extremely slow. It was a lot slower, by like 6-7 hours slower to get 1 to 90. So, that's quite a big difference. Anyway, Aspect of the Hawk has now gone as well. And the way aspects work for hunters now is you don't have this permanent aspect you keep up anymore. They're more of situational use, so aspect of the cheetah and aspect of the pack remain the same. You put them up, if you get hit you'll be reduced movement speed, so you have to think about when you're using them. And aspect of the fox has been reworked. Hunter is very, very mobile. It's the most mobile caster in the game. All the other casters have been kind of like tweaked so that they don't have their mobility anymore. For example, Ellie Shaman can no longer cast Lightning Bolt on the move. So Hunter is the only one that's pretty much able to cast everything they need to while moving. There's a few exceptions to that, but for the most part they can cast literally everything while moving. So, yeah. Which is why they had one of the weaker damage sort of points in the early beta, is because Blizzard were saying, well, hunters can do everything they need to do while moving, so that'll give them, that's their niche. They'll be able to, on those high mobility fights, they'll still be able to do a lot of damage while everyone else will suffer. But it wasn't really enough of a niche for them to still be able to keep themselves as a competitive DPS. So they've been buffed and tweaked, and now they're in a decent spot for that, even without the mobility aspect being thrown in. Scatter Shot is now gone, so no more Scatter Traps. You'll have to do something else, for example, like stun them with a binding shot first, and then follow up into a trap, or make use of someone else's CC. Silencing Shot is now gone as well. Silencing Shot replaced Counter Shot at like level 30, but that's now gone. You just get Counter Shot baseline. Scare Beast is gone as well. Mainly a PvP used ability. Didn't really see much use in PvE, but that is gone as well. No more fearing feral druids when they're in cat form, that kind of thing. Widow Venom is also now gone as well. Seen a bit of PvE use, not too much, but it had the occasional, like, you know, we can use it here type thing, but that is gone as well. That's really it I could see that's gone from the spellbook. Everything else is pretty much there. There's a few passives that have been lost, but for the most part, like all the spells that you normally see. Oh, and Stampede is gone as well. It's now a talent, so we'll get to that in a second. Yeah, that's about it. Aim shot's now castable on the move permanently, no glyph. You just be able to cast it on the move at all times. So let's take a look at the talents. So the first tier is pretty much the same. Nothing seems to have changed here. The second tier is also the same, apart from Wervensting. I could never figure out how you pronounce this, but you know what I'm talking about. I believe it was instant before, and now it has a cast time, I think. Let me quickly check that. Yeah, it's instant cast on live, and it has a 1.33 second cast on beta. But apart from that, everything else is the same. This tier is the same apart from Iron Hawk. It just baseline reduces damage taken by 10%. So, you know, you kind of want to choose what you want. You can either have the heal every 2 minutes, a passive sort of low percentage heal permanently, or a passive sort of damage reduction. I imagine either the damage reduction or the heal is what you'll take in PvE. And then the level 60 tier, Steady Focus is the new talent, I believe. Yeah, that replaces, I can't remember what it was called, but the snake looking one. It now, using Steady Shot twice in a row increases your focus regeneration by 50% for 10 seconds. Isn't that great? I don't think you'll be using that, to be honest. Dire Beast is the same. I believe it's the same cooldown as well. And Thrill of the Hunt is what I imagine you'll be using. You have a 6% chance per 10 focus spent on focus casting attacks to gain Thrill of the Hunt. Thrill of the Hunt reduces the focus cost of your next 3 arcane shots, multi-shots, and aim shots by 20. So, yeah, that's what you're going to be using. I don't believe that affects aim shot on live, but it affects aim shot on the beta, so that is a pretty nice pickup. Murder of Crows has been changed slightly as well. The cooldown has been reduced to 1 minute from 2. Summons a flock of crows to attack your target over the next 15 seconds. If the target dies while under attack, a Murder of Crows cooldown is reset. So, whether you're going to use that or Stampede is going to be based on the fight that you're doing. Stampede is your big sort of DPS cooldown every 5 minutes, or Murder of Crows is your smaller DPS cooldown. If there's maybe ads and things like that, you're going to want to use Murder of Crows because you can put it on an ad, and it'll reset and then you can pop it onto the next ad. It does have, obviously you're going to starve yourself of focus though if you do that. And then Blink Strike. Well, we're not using, because we're going to use Lone Wolf. As far as I know, Lone Wolf is the way to go, especially with the recent nerfs to exotic munitions. Lone Wolf is the god. But I could be wrong, it might be Focusing Shot, although you can't move while casting Focusing Shot. You have to pretty much stand still, and it's okay. And we'll get to that in a second anyway. Glaive Toss has been changed slightly as well. Everything's actually, I think they just tweaked the damage. Yeah, they just tweaked the damage, never mind. Power Shot is the same, and Barrage is the only one that's been changed. Now costs 60 focus and is on a 20-second cooldown from 30 focus and a 30-second cooldown. And it does a decent amount of damage, but it isn't enough to outweigh the fact that you need to sit there and channel it. It still is a channeled ability. Might be worth using on AoE, I don't know, we'll see that in a minute. But it's either going to be between Barrage or Glaive Toss on sort of cleave AoE. And I imagine Power Shot will be the go-to single target. And then the final tier, you've got Exotic Munitions. This is a level 100 talent. Allows you to modify your ranged weapon to use exotic munitions. The Incendiary Ammo arms your ranged weapon with exotic ammunition that lasts for 1 hour. Each shot deals 1,195 additional fire damage to all enemies within 8 yards. So basically, that's like a splash damage. Poisoned Ammo arms your ranged weapon with exotic ammunition that lasts for 1 hour, blah blah blah. Deals nature damage over 16 seconds. When this effect is refreshed, the remaining damage will be added to the new effect. So it's basically a stacking dot that you can keep stacking. It'll be like huge ticks eventually. But, you know, it takes a long time to stack it to a decent amount. And then frozen ammo is a permanent slow every auto attack, so you no longer need to put up concussive shot if you've got that. You'll literally just auto and it will slow them for the same as concussive. It's just on a shorter duration. But, I mean, you're going to be autoing them pretty much all the time anyway, so it's going to be quite nice in PvP for kiting. You might use incendiary ammo on cleave AoE, I'm not too sure if it'll be worthwhile, but for single target, Lone Wolf is the way to go. Focusing shot, carefully line up a shot at the target that deals 6,804 physical damage and focuses you, generating 50 focus. So it's basically steady shot doubled. You know, it's a double cast time, double damage, and slightly more focus back. Actually, quite a lot more focus back. And then the final one is Lone Wolf. This is the marksman and survival only talent. You'll get something else as BM, don't worry. And passive, while you don't have a pet. While you don't have a pet active, your damage dealt with auto shot, steady shot, aim shot, chimera shot, and kill shot is increased by 30%, and you are able to provide you one of the several beneficial effects to your raid and party. So obviously you can't have a pet out. If I summon a pet, I'll lose the 30% increased damage, and also you gain a new spell called Lone Wolf, which allows you to do, you know, the cat buff, the bear buff, the raptor buff, the hyena buff, the serpent buff, or the primate buff. So you'll be able to put whichever one you need in your party or group up, basically, without having the pet. So that's kind of cool. And now we're going to give it a go and see how much damage we can actually do. So, I don't know why exotic munitions is still on my bar, but it's whatever, I guess. Let me just quickly re-put this on my bar because it sometimes bugs. And we should be good to go. Let's refresh the buffs. Let's reset my recount. And we were going for about 1 minute 40. It's between 1 minute 40, 1 minute 45 average that we've been doing these tests for. So, let's go, I guess. I don't know if I should open with power shot, but we'll soon find out, I guess. So obviously main filler now is going to be aim shot. You're going to be using aim shot, aim shot, aim shot, and then chimera shot off cooldown. I have the wrong pet out as well, I just realised. Whoops. Wait. Never mind, it's Stampede. Whoops. So obviously you're going to want to aim shot as much as you can, making sure you have enough focus ready for your chimera shot as soon as it comes up. And we're doing 25k, which if you've seen the hunter and the shaman, the burst might not have been as high. I wasn't really keeping track of the... Actually, the burst might have even been higher. But yeah, this is a lot of damage. It's keeping about 25k, which is much higher than what Enhance and Ret was at this point. So it's not doing too bad. Rotation of just pretty much 4 spells. Kind of. I probably opened wrong as well. We're dropping down to about 22k now. But it still isn't too bad. We were dropping down to about 20k as Ret and Enhance. So it's not too bad at all. And I might be using the wrong talents as well. I'm just basing this off Sims. Yeah, we're keeping about 22k DPS, which is a k more than the other specs that we've played so far. And I don't really play too much Hunter, so it's probably not the most optimal rotation. Keep going for another few seconds. So you have it, yeah. Keeping about 22k DPS, which isn't bad at all. Definitely not something to grumble at. I don't know whether we should try Barrage or Glaive Toss for AoE. I don't know really if it's worth the cat. Actually, let's try them both. We'll give both of them a test. So let's remove this. And cool thing about Chimera Shot, I don't know if it does this on live, but it hits multiple targets now as well. So it's kind of like a cleave. So if targets are close together, it's going to do a lot of damage. So let's see how much AoE we're getting. I can't actually remember how much the other classes were doing, but we'll open with... I feel like we should open with Chimera Shot into a Barrage. So that's a lot of burst right there. That is a lot of burst. And then obviously we're going to go into multi-shots. But we need to get those procs. There we go, that's what we want. And then the cost of multi-shot is going to be pretty much nothing at that point. And we're stuck the focus for the Barrage. Get another Chimera shot out. So keeping about 35k AoE. The burst was really, really high. I don't know if Barrage is worth it though. It seemed quite a high cost for... Actually, it's doing quite a lot of damage. Never mind. Maybe it's worth. I'll take it back. Eat my words. Yeah, it's doing a lot of damage. So yeah, the AoE isn't that great. It's kind of weak compared to the Enhance and Ret AoE, if I remember right. But, one, these might not be the most optimal talents for it. And two, Marksman isn't meant to be the AoE spec, in honesty. That's why you have 3 other specs. I'm assuming Survival is going to be the higher single target, sorry, the higher AoE spec. But, you know, that's why you have 3 DPS specs. You're meant to be able to swap between them depending on the fight that you're going to be doing. So you're going to be moving between Marksman for those sort of pure single target, maybe cleave fights, and then onto Survival or BM for the sort of AoE focused fights. I imagine it'd be Survival, but I don't know. So there you go. So the AoE seemed kind of weak. Also, you do want to try and keep still. I forgot to mention this, but you don't really want to be moving around too much because of this sniper training. You get a buff every time you stand still, and you want to try and keep that up. So you get a little debuff saying you've recently stopped moving. Wait like 3 seconds, then you get your sniper training back. So you can manage it. You can stop for 3 seconds, refresh it, move again, you know. And you can keep it up pretty much permanently if you do short movements. But if that goes down, obviously you're going to be losing 9% damage, 9% crit, and 9% shot range. So you do want to be keeping that up 100% if possible. So yeah, that's pretty much a look at Hunter. Single target was pretty good, pushing about 22k. So that's going to be moving it sort of high, mid of the meters. And also, you know, you're extremely mobile. You can cast everything that you need to on the move. Obviously, you're sacrificing the buff for that. But if there's any ever a movement bit of the fight, you're going to be able to still do your full rotation with no problem whatsoever. AoE was a bit weak, but as I said, that's why you have 3 specs. You're meant to be swapping between them to really maximize yourself on different fights. And yeah, you bring a Rage utility cooldown now, which Hunter didn't bring before, so your usefulness in the raid has increased. You don't just bring damage, we also bring something, you know, a bit more. You keep the sort of CC as well with sort of binding shot and things like that. And you've also got the AoE slow trap and the single target trap. So overall, it isn't too bad. One negative thing about using the Lone Wolf is anything related to your pet no longer works. For example, I just realised this, but Spirit Bond won't actually work without my pet. So obviously Iron Hog is going to be the way to go. And you can't use things like Master's Call without the pet. So keep that in mind as well. You have to use talents and use spells without having a pet, basically. But yeah. And maybe those talents that I was using were wrong, but 22k, as I said, is pretty good. It pushes it, well, higher than Ret and Enhance was on average. The AoE damage was lower than those 2 classes, though. So I think Hunters are pretty good as well. They were looking really, really dire, to be honest, earlier on. Their damage output was just awful. It was probably the lowest for a long time. But now they're not too bad. They're in a decently good spot. They're sort of Marksman being the way to go for a single target, as I said. So yeah. And yeah, the rotation was always a bit simple for Hunter anyway. So that's not too much of a difference. Obviously you've lost 1 more spell for your single target, I believe. But that's really it. So this has been a look at Marksman Hunter. Not too sure what's going to be next. Might do Feral next, I think. We'll see. So thanks for watching, guys. Look out for more of these coming soon. See ya.